You know what bugs the heck out of me is why people in our country can't follow the lead of scientists and instead follow what ignorant politicians are telling us, especially in this very challenging times. Perhaps Charles Darwin said it best, and I quote, "Ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge." Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and we inspire. And in answering this question of why aren't we following the scientists more than ignorant people that aren't experts, I came upon an article that is, I believe, giving me the answer. The article is entitled "The Dunning-Kruger Effect Explains Why Society is So Screwed Up." And it was written by The Happy Neuron. Okay, let me tell you a story. I'm quoting mostly from this article. It's really a good article. In April of 1995, MacArthur Wheeler covered his face in lemon juice and robbed two Pittsburgh area banks. He reasoned that the lemon juice would make his face invisible to security cameras, in the same way that lemon juice is used as invisible ink. He even claimed to have successfully tested the idea with his own Polaroid camera before the robberies. Of course, that was nonsense, and he was picked up by the police soon after the bank's security footage was shown on the nightly news. "But I wore the juice," he said, confused when officers showed up at his house. Now, Wheeler was originally written off as being just another dumb criminal with a half-baked idea. He was even featured in the 1996 World Almanac for being one of the dumbest criminals ever. But David Dunning, a psychology professor at Cornell, and Justin Kruger, one of Dunning's graduate students, realized this was a perfect example of a common phenomenon which is now known as, using their names, the Dunning-Kruger Effect. So what is the Dunning-Kruger Effect? Put simply, the Dunning-Kruger Effect is the tendency for people to misjudge their abilities. People with less than average abilities tend to overestimate their true abilities, while those with higher than average abilities tend not to realize how much better they are. That is, some people are too stupid to know how stupid they are, while smart people assume most can do what they can. In their original paper written in 1999 entitled "Unskilled and Unaware of It, How Difficulties in Recognizing One's Own Incompetence Leads to Inflated Self-Assessments," Dunning and Kruger claimed that the miscalibration of the incompetent stems from an error about the self. They think they're smart, whereas the miscalibration of the highly competent stems from an error about others. They feel that other people can do what they can do. Now, as a person learns about a subject, confidence grows substantially. As a person continues to grasp the basics, his or her confidence reaches a maximum, as he or she believes themselves to be among the few that understand the subject. This peak is often referred to as Mount Stupid. The problem, though, is that the more a person learns about a subject, the more he or she is able to see just how complicated it really is. So the intelligent person, on the other hand, as their competence increases, confidence bottoms out in what has been dubbed as the Valley of Despair. Ultimately, though, the confidence begins to grow again, and a person climbs up the slope of enlightenment as he or she gains mastery of a subject. Now, the loudest people often live on Mount Stupid. Unfortunately, those with the loudest voices often have the most confidence but little competence. For example, pundits on both sides of the political spectrum speak for hours about topics that they know very little about. It's common to see the news cycle dominated by both liberal and conservative hosts expounding endlessly about science, economics, foreign policy, medicine, and so on. What are the odds that they're experts in all of these, let alone even one of them? Then where do they get such confidence? Yep, they suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect. Likewise, politicians like to present themselves on experts when they know very little. Most of us have seen Trump doling out medical advice to help combat the COVID-19 pandemic during his daily press briefings, yet he most certainly doesn't have a medical degree. He even had the audacity to continually push for people to try hydroxychloroquine, which, as you know, doesn't really do anything in this particular case. In 2012, Paul Braun, a member of the House Science Committee, claimed that the fields of evolution, embryology, and cosmology are, quote, lies from the pit of hell. Their false sense of confidence, of course, is easily explained by the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is also commonly seen on social media, where people share their ideas as if they were experts. In reality, many of the noisiest on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and so on have only read an article or two, saw another user's video, or browsed comments. Many clearly nonsensical ideas get shared, spreading potentially dangerous, incorrect information. Perhaps some of the strangest are pastors telling their congregations that a COVID-19 vaccine will contain microchips and that 5G networks are the cause of the virus. How can someone have such little scientific understanding, yet so much confidence? The Dunning-Kruger effect. On the other hand, the more educated are quiet. Those in the valley of despair feel like frauds. For some reason, despite ample evidence to the contrary, some of those well on their way towards mastering a subject feel like they aren't really that educated. Their recognition is due to luck, or they tricked those people around them. They feel that, well, if I can do it, other people can do it. That's common with PhD students as they experience high levels of depression, even though they know far more about their chosen field than the general population. So what about society and the anti-science movement? Perhaps the biggest threat to society is the growing anti-science movement, which is fueled by the Dunning-Kruger effect. Those on Mount Stupid have the biggest influence, often supporting anti-science candidates, intentionally or unintentionally spreading misinformation, or even helping to create anti-science legislation. Because of this, the public's trust in science is alarmingly low. According to Pew Research Center, as of 2019, only 35% of Americans report a great deal of confidence in scientists to act in the public interest. Peter Hortez claims that in the last decade, numerous fields of science, such as climate change, air pollution, evolution, and immunology, which is the study of vaccinating people, have come under attack. Even the entire field of geology has been targeted, as it contradicts the belief of some that the Earth is only a few thousand years old, not the 4.5 billion years geologists claim that it is. And how can a society function while so many are against basic science? It can't. Science makes society possible. Science gives us electricity, clean water, medicine, among many, many, many other examples. Attacking science is akin to trying to undo the modern world. Hortez believes that combating these types of movements, in particular the anti-vaccination one, requires communicating better with the public. Clearly, that's the case. This might help reverse the Dunning-Kruger effect in that it would elevate those in the valley of despair, those that are knowledgeable, to the same level of those on Mount Stupid. If this happens, maybe people would gain a better understanding of science, thus helping society stay together and continue to advance. So it's time for us as a society to stop following the pundits and the politicians that have read one little article or seen one little video and cut it piecemeal. the biggest example of that I saw, and this is great, was a lady that I saw talking about, you know, why scientists aren't doing this and why scientists aren't doing that. You know, this is COVID-19. They've actually had 18 other examples of this COVID virus. And then somebody pointed out to her that the reason it's called COVID-19 is not because there have been 18 predecessors, but because it's from the year 2019. Well, humana. The lady was no longer an expert. It's time for us to follow the guidance of the scientists, like most of the other civilized countries in the world have. And it's time for us to stop following those people that have climbed aboard Mount Stupid. And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, once again, I would like to credit the article by the happy neuron. The Dunning-Kruger Effect explains why society is so screwed up. And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, let's not be stupid, let's get out there and charge! I'm Eli's dad.